Speaker. Back to the Minister of Energy. Last week I saw a slide. It was meant for potential Hydro One investors. It said, quote, "Formal agreement ensures the government is investor, not manager." Another fine example of Liberals saying one thing and doing another. To the people, they say, don't worry, the government's in control. To the investors, they say, don't worry, the government isn't in control. We've been saying it all along. The government is giving up majority control. Obviously, they're losing control of the company. Mr. Speaker, will the Premier or will the Minister admit in this House that they will have no control over Hydro One as prices skyrocket and more seniors and other folks have to choose between heating and eating? Good question. Minister.
Minister of Energy.
Speakers, speaking of saying one thing and doing another, Mr. Speaker, I'd like to remind the member that during the 2014 election, both he and his party campaigned on a platform of, and I quote, opening both Hydro One and OPG to investment. That initial sale could later be followed by a public offering of shares to both institutional and retail investors. Selling part of these two provincial assets will free up money to pay down debt, and customer prices would continue to be protected by the Ontario Energy Board. The PC Energy Policy White Paper is the latest and only policy on energy that the PC party has released.
Order. The member from Renfrew come to order. Wrap up, please.
And the new leader of the PC party, Mr. Speaker, has not disavowed that particular policy which the previous leader had adopted, Mr. Speaker. So they are supportive of public expanding of the public ownership of Hydro One.
I'd like the Minister, Speaker, to actually answer the question, who will have control of Hydro One when this is all over? Because on June 5th, a headline in the Oakville Beaver read, government will still control Hydro One after privatization, Energy Minister Bob Chiarelli tells an Oakville audience. And then on October 9th in the Canadian Press says, the Liberals insist the government will maintain control of Hydro One. Despite that not being possible, as the government is giving up majority control, we fast forward and the government is admitting to Bay Street that they're simply just another investor. So which is it, Mr. Speaker? What is it going to be? Is the government going to have control, or is the government just another investor looking to maximize profits through increased hydro rates for its customers?
Good question. Thank you, Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the member knows that by law, the largest single shareholder in Hydro One will be the Government of Ontario. In the preliminary prospectus, which he has a copy of, outlines a legally binding governance agreement that serves both the public interest and the interest of investors, Mr. Speaker. The agreement details the relationship between the government and Hydro One, confirming the government's rights as the principal shareholder, but not allowing Hydro One to be free to operate without political interference in its operations. Led by the board and new management team, the company is committed to focus on improved performance, Mr. Speaker. The reality is no other shareholder will be able to have more than 10%. There will be broad sale at the retail level to broaden ownership. And, Mr. Speaker, with the combination of our rights in appointing the board, plus all these other factors, we're confident that the public interest will be protected.
Thank you. Final supplementary.
Thank you, Speaker. The government will have 40% control. Everyone else will have 60% control of Hydro One. This Liberal government is clearly no longer in it for the people of Ontario.
Order. Finish, please.
Hydro One's a monopoly controlling 97% of transmission lines in Ontario. The people in Ontario don't have a choice to get their power anywhere else. It's the only electricity highway in the province, and the government is giving that away. Mr. Speaker, that's why this is a bad deal, and that's why we oppose it. The government isn't giving people choice, but instead giving them higher hydro bills with no way out. The loss of majority control means this government won't be able to stop skyrocketing prices and won't have a say in the expansion of transmission lines. So, Speaker, why won't the minister stand up for Ontarians, tell the truth, and admit they're giving up control of the company?
Thank you. Minister of Energy.
Mr. Speaker, I want to start by saying that Hydro One distribution represents 24% of the distribution in the province of Ontario. Certainly in distribution, it's not in a monopoly situation. Mr. Speaker, And again, if he will want to consult any corporate lawyer, he will know that where you have sales of shares broadly to the public, like the banks, no more than 10% can be owned by one shareholder, Mr. Speaker, that there is a certain reality there that enables the public interest to be protected. Also, the Ontario Securities Commission, Mr. Speaker, has very, very strict rules on transparency, including transparency on salaries, quarterly reporting, audited statements, Mr. Speaker. There's a lot more there than he's prepared to admit in terms of where Hydro One sits with respect to control.